Lester Holt, the renowned NBC News anchor known for his ability to lead hours of continuous breaking news coverage, is finally ready to take a break. The NBC News veteran plans to step down from his anchor duties on NBC Nightly News in early summer, a position he has held since 2015. Afterward, he intends to focus full-time on NBC News Dateline, which he has anchored since 2011. After a decade or 17 years if you count his weekend years, Holt expressed in a memo to staff that it is time for him to step away from his role as anchor of nightly news. He described it as the honor of a lifetime to work with his colleagues daily, keeping journalism as their true north and viewers at the center of everything they do. However, before he exits, he announced that he would continue as the anchor of Dateline NBC in a full-time capacity. This new role will allow him to expand his presence on the broadcast and craft Dateline hours on subjects he deeply cares about. He expressed excitement about working more closely with his talented friends at Dateline as the program continues to grow and attract new viewers. Holt's departure is part of a series of exits by senior TV news personnel in recent months as the industry faces new economic pressures from the rise of streaming and a challenging climate for media outlets during the early days of the second Trump administration. Chuck Todd, the veteran political director and Meet the Press moderator, left NBC News in January. Andrea Mitchell, the longtime international affairs and politics reporter, recently ended her decades-long tenure on MSNBC's daytime schedule. Hoda Kotb also recently left her duties at NBC News Today. NBC News is not alone in parting ways with veterans. Neil Cavuto recently exited Fox News Channel after being with them since 1996, and Chris Wallace parted ways with CNN after a short tenure. Holt has been a calming presence at NBC News, where his unflappable and low-key demeanor helped the news division move forward after a chaotic moment. He took over nightly duties after his predecessor, Brian Williams, was removed following scrutiny over claims made about a reporting trip to Iraq. Holt has tried to adapt to new media consumption habits, aware that traditional TV viewers who once watched evening news after work are now interacting with content differently. In 2015, he humorously remarked that in a year or two, people might be watching news on their toaster, and they need to be there to put butter on the bread. In 2020, he launched a kids' edition of Nightly, where he discussed topics like mental health awareness with Sesame Street characters and looked at the birth of a rare antelope at the Oregon Zoo. He also experimented with the nightly closing, offering more reflective and nuanced sign-offs during somber national moments. One day before the 2020 presidential election, he told viewers that democracy is messy but necessary for our children who are watching us. During Holt's tenure, Nightly also focused on news from different parts of the country, including Florida and California, not just New York and Washington, D.C. Janelle Rodriguez, the NBC News executive vice president overseeing the evening newscast, praised Holt's steady and thoughtful leadership. She credited him for sustaining nightly news as a trusted and top news destination for millions across America. Holt led the network through some of the country's most challenging times in the past decade, particularly during the early days of the pandemic, when his voice provided comfort each night for many. He brought viewers to the front lines of major stories and engaged world leaders on consequential issues. NBC News has not commented on potential successors for Holt at Nightly. Hallie Jackson was recently appointed as the anchor of the Sunday broadcast of the program, and Tom Lamas, who joined NBC News from ABC News in 2021, is seen as a candidate for the role. Holt has been with NBC Universal for 25 years, joining MSNBC in 2000 before taking roles as a substitute anchor for NBC Nightly News and a weekend anchor at Today. Before that, he spent nearly 20 years working for CBS-owned TV stations. He will leave Nightly as the overall evening news format appears to be in transition. CBS News has revamped its long-running CBS Evening News to focus less on breaking news. Meanwhile, ABC's World News Tonight which leads among the three main broadcast networks in audience size, remains closely tied to anchor David Muir. In a 2017 interview, Holt reflected on the challenges of delivering complex issues concisely within a 30-minute broadcast. He acknowledged that despite our short attention spans today, a 30-minute evening news show remains an effective format.